That's better, I think. Hi, it's Ren from Spirits of Fashion. That is my company name, and we are going to be talking about style and stories. And I am following up this time on the Regency style I talked about last time. And I wanted to show how to style a Regency or an Empire style on a budget. People like to make their own costumes sometimes. I don't sew. So I have to buy things to make it work for a certain era. Now we're talking about the early 1800s. So right around the turn of the century and then up until about 1820. So we really don't have clothing. I don't have anything in my collection that old. They're usually in museums. So what I do, this is one of my favorite things to do, is to look in my own closets, and they are quite full, by the way, but I like to look in my own closets for items that I can sort of fake a certain style. So I brought a number of pieces with me. I collect all the time. And the thing is about this style, ladies had this very, which I talked about last time, very straight dress. I know you can't see the bottom of it. It's a full length. And I found this years ago when I started doing these presentations. I found it online. A woman was going out of business. And so this is what she did. She made these dresses. So I got this for a really good price, and I've been wearing it ever since. Last time it was on the dress form, and I had a ribbon around it. They would normally wear kind of a thin ribbon around and tie it in the back. It just annoys me too much because it never stays where it's supposed to. So I just kept it simple today. But I do have more menswear inspired. And so we talked about the column-like dresses for ladies. And then, they're very, very, almost sheer sometimes, but very lightweight. And then for men, my favorite period is this one. And it's with the changeover, as I talked about last time, from French Revolution to a much more almost practical style and sort of supporting the working man coming out of the French Revolution. So we're looking at a suit for men, and you would have breeches, sometimes still looking like breeches from the court in terms of length, but much simpler fabric, often buckskin, and these would eventually be called pantaloons, and then they will morph into trousers eventually. Buckskin is, what the men would do because they were trying to imitate statues like the women were from the ancient Greeks and Romans, because they were looking at a sort of, democratic republic after the revolution. So men would have these buckskin pantaloons, and they would often soak them. So they would shrink them to fit. A little risque, but they certainly started looking like statues when they did that. And then they'd have, of course, a shirt or a chemise. That would be their underlayer. And then over that would go the waistcoat or vest, as we also know it now. And then a jacket. And the jacket would often be a tailcoat. A tailcoat is straight across in the front and then has the tails in the back. This that we think of now as formal wear, back then was day wear. So they definitely had a style all their own. And that's the kind of thing that I have more of to sort of show you how that could be done. Around their necks, they would wear, it could either be called a cravat or a stock. And it's just a wraparound piece of fabric, really cool. Sometimes they'd wear it up really high. The shirt collars, the waistcoat collar, and the jacket collar were all very, very high, sometimes even up on the cheek. And that's what I find so cool. They also wore riding boots, so I'll be showing you a pair that I have that very much resemble, I think, what they wore, and they were called top boots. So let's get started with the ladies first. I have much less. I have this piece that I showed you, this full-length dress. I have boots on. I know you can't see them, but they are a Victorian style. They're sort of lacy and off-white. but they work for like a day wear for this period of time. And in terms of shoes, last time I had, the only thing I have that's truly from this period is a pair of off-white dancing slippers that are satin. And we talked about how they were, they didn't have a right and left foot at all. So they would be just straights, they called them. And that would mold to the foot. I didn't bring those this time, but I showed them last time. It's the only thing I have. They had little ribbons to tie them on their feet, around their ankles, so it almost looks like the ballet slippers and toe shoes that ballet dancers wear. I did find these, and I'm just saying this because almost everything I'm going to show you today, I have found in thrift stores. This is why I'm telling you this is a budget way to do this. And most people have things in their closets that they could start with and use and then fill in the blanks. This seems to be a very popular period, is the Regency era. And I know it's popular with my audiences that I usually, when I go to senior centers and libraries, they love this particular one, especially if they love Jane Austen. So this shoe is amazing. It's all leather, and it's got embroidered flowers on it and leaves, and just a little strap. Now it does have a little heel, but it doesn't mean that during the day they wouldn't have worn a heel. So this is a thrift store find many years ago. I don't remember what I paid, but it was definitely worth it. And they look like they've almost never been worn, if ever. So I use these sometimes instead of the boots I'm wearing today. These are very nice, but I wanted to show you these. So that's one of the ladies' things that I have. The hat I got in Salem, Massachusetts, one of my favorite places in the world. It was a store that I adored. It was my favorite store there. And they was there for several years, but they sold Jane-inspired items, Jane Austen-inspired. So they'd have books, they'd have accessories, they'd have things like cups and saucers. It was amazing. And so I got this hat there, and it reminds me of Kate Winslet's character in the movie Sense and Sensibility, when she's recovering from a very serious illness and she's with Colonel Brandon, and she's wearing a hat just like this. So I'm going to turn around so you can see the back of it. And it's very comfortable on the head. It makes a great summer hat as well. So if you could probably order this online, you could probably find something similar and maybe even used so that it wouldn't cost that much money. But it really can be modern or sort of antique looking. Depends on how you style it. So I went full force with this style. But I like to mix the old with the new. I like modern, and I like to mix that with vintage pieces because I think it makes style so much more interesting. The other thing I have for the ladies from this period, they had a couple of different choices, 3 choices for outerwear. So, these dresses don't have much weight to them. They're not very warm. It's great at this time of year in the summer, but I'll tell you, in the winter, it's a little rough. So they might have to have a couple of layers of things over this. This is the thing that was all the rage back then. Because of trade with India, ladies were buying pashmina shawls, cashmere shawls. And so this came from the thrift store that my husband and I work at. I bought this a few weeks ago. I think I paid $2 for it. And it's got a really cool leaf design on it. And all I do, what the ladies would have done, is put it over me like this. Now you can keep it long, or sometimes what you see is they have it down on the arms like this. It's got fringe. It's very comfortable fabric. It's not too hot. And it's just really luxurious. So this is something that I could pair with this with no problem and still be in character. So this I love. If you wanted to modernize it, sounds simple, but you have a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, and this would be the standout piece. This would be the star of your outfit, and no one else is going to have one like it. So I think this does a good job of showing the pashmina look on a definite budget, because I'm definitely on a budget. And another thing I have, I'll dig a little bit here. One of the other things they wore as a coat, it could be worn either inside or out, is called the spencer. And again, I talked about this last time. The spencer was, the legend is that Lord Spencer had singed his tails on his tailcoat. So he said, let's just cut them off. So they cut off the tails. Now, the tailcoat, as I said, comes up high and it's straight across, but it would have tails in the back. This doesn't. Now, this is a piece that I got from a friend years ago. But what's great about it is it can be, I've worn this as a spencer. So I could put this, if it was colder, I would put this on as my layering piece. By the same token as the pashmina, this could be used with modern dress with no problem. You can wear anything under it. You can dress up denim with this, or you could make it a dressy outfit. Maybe this is all velvet here. So what if you had a long velvet skirt for the holidays or for a special occasion? This would be the perfect jacket because the colors are so fabulous. The velvet is very, very soft. And it's just an interesting piece that would, again, be the star of the show. I'm always talking to my seniors about those standout pieces, like having one piece that is, it is unexpected to wear with something else that they have in their closet. But you can find something like this. This was rare, a rare find. I've never seen one like it since. Doesn't mean that you won't. So I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for this look, this could be used, as I said, you don't have to just do this for Regency fashion. You can do this with anything you already own. The next piece I have for the ladies is, this is kind of funny. I was in a thrift store with a friend a few years ago, and it was, I remember it was St. Paul de Vincent, those thrift shops, charity thrift shops. This is a nightgown. This is a nightgown. This is not real velvet, but it feels very soft like velvet, but it's definitely probably polyester. I have to look at the label again. But the reason I thought it could work, and it was cheap too, it was like probably $4, is because even though it's gathered up here, it can kind of fake an empire waist, like I'm wearing here. And you could put, say a black, this is black lace up here. You could put a black ribbon around here, just like they would have done. And even put this over it. So let's see what that looks like. Let's put this jacket. So there's your spencer. You could button it if you wanted to, or leave it open. And there's your spencer. So you've got a pretty good look here, pretty authentic look for this Regency period. And it even matches. This is a dark blue, and this is a dark blue as well, the velvet. Might look black on screen, but it's definitely a deep blue, like a midnight blue color. So it totally works for this look. A pair of velvet flats would be perfect, and it would be inexpensive. You can get those secondhand easily. So you've got this look for pennies. I didn't pay any. This was a gift from a friend, or it might have been like a trade for something else years ago. This was only a few dollars. And so here's your look. Here's your look. Mix it with fun things, like I said. Be dressing up denim. It could be any kind of a dress pant if you wanted to do that, or a trouser. And even, again, wear a band tee under it. That's what everybody seems to do now. You have a kind of fancy jacket or coat, and maybe jeans or a nice pair of pants, and then you put a band tee on. And it's that definite difference in genres that's cool. If you have a favorite band, that's going to show through here, and whatever else your outfit has, this is again going to be the star of the show. So those are my ladies' pieces. The rest are men's. So we're going to go ahead and start with that. This blouse I got again at our thrift store. This is an 80s blouse. And I can tell, I know the style of the 80s. I lived through it. And this shoulder pad look is exactly what would have been done to the blouses back then. But one of the best things, and I have a few of the same type style in different prints, because when I see them, I buy them because they're ridiculously inexpensive and they look so modern under a suit jacket. So it doesn't have to be vintage looking like an old lady blouse. It can be something that is really cool that you put with another garment that maybe is more modern. And what I love is it's 3 buttons. So the collar crosses over, and then you have 3 buttons, and it gives such an asymmetrical look. And I love it. So when I do Jane Austen in the winter, when I do that presentation, I dress like a Regency gentleman because it's too cold to wear this dress. I just can't do it. So I go as the gentleman, and people get a kick out of it because they don't expect it. And it's really comfortable for me. I'll tell you, guys have it made much more comfortable. But so I just get the whole outfit. I'll show you how I do that. But this blouse is usually what I will wear. You can wear a regular blouse, regular white blouse if you want. And then I'm going to show you about the man's stock or cravat, how to do that. We'll look at that in a little bit. But you can do that too. It doesn't have to be this exact style. I just use this because it sort of takes the place of a stock. So sometimes I put a stock over it, and sometimes I just leave it plain. But these blouses are really terrific in terms of they can look modern, they can look vintage, they can even look like antique fashion if you style it the right way. So how would I style this for a Regency gentleman, starting with the blouse? Well, I have a number of waistcoats with me that I have gotten over the years, of course, thrifting. I found them. And let's get this one off. And I will put it on. I love this one. This has been around. This is an Express. Remember the store Express? This is an Express. Now, it's like a paisley tapestry here. And by now, this is vintage, definitely. But as I mentioned last week, or last time, this is plain in the back. And I always ask my audiences, well, why do you think that is? Because it was never to be seen. The jackets the men wore over the waistcoats and with their pantaloons or trousers were meant to be a full outfit. They were not meant to be, this was not meant to be seen on its own. The jacket would always be over it. Otherwise, it was called a state of undress. Now, they could wear, say, what we think of as a robe when they go home, and they could wear something like that. They would eventually be called banyans. That was like the dressing gown that men wore. But they would still have the shirt, the waistcoat, the stock, the trousers, and the boots or shoes at home. That was a state of undress. The only thing missing was the jacket. So this was not supposed to be seen. So why waste time and money making it fancy when no one's going to see it anyway? So let's put that over the blouse. Make it interesting. And there you go. So you've got a nice waistcoat with the white shirt underneath. And then if I wanted to, I could get this piece of fabric. This is chiffon. It's really a very, very pale pink, but it could pass for white, close enough. And there's nothing wrong. I've seen color too. It doesn't have to be white all the time as a stock. But if I wanted to do this, what I would do is wrap it around. And again, well, it's not doing what I want it to do, but I'm going to do it on myself. It's easier. But what I would do, I would fold it better, but just to give you the idea of what they would do here. And you come around and then you just make a little tie right here, and that can go over any shirt, and that can be your stock. So you can make it as high as you want. And you know, once you've got the blouse on, now this is something you could do with everyday fashion, with modern fashion, right? You could do the same. It's so easy to do. You just tie it in a knot. I am not great with, you know, using my hands to make intricate designs or anything. I don't have that skill. This is simple. And chiffon is great because it seems to stay put better than silk. So it's great. You can find these easily in vintage shops or even thrift shops. Then I thought, let's make it more fun. Look at this crazy. It's like 60s, 70s inspired, and it's a square. But what if you wanted the gentleman, what if he was in a white shirt, a plain black tailcoat, and his vest was black, right? Let's punch it up with some color. So we could do what I did. This is a different style scarf, but you could do the same thing. Again, fold it nicely, put it around. And then if you can't tie it, you could use a pin or a brooch and make it more fun for the gentleman to have something that's more colorful and wild and bringing a bit of the 60s and 70s along with you. This can also be done with your modern clothing. These scarves are everywhere. I have thrifted so many of these. I've got way too many. But I always find uses for them. And this is a perfect example of how to mix eras. So this is new. This is from H&M. But I got it at a thrift store. So, but you can always find styles that have come back in terms of pattern, color. And that's what I like to do, is if it's inspired by another decade or another era and it's inexpensive, I will buy it because I can use it for these kinds of purposes. So let's make it a little more fun for the gentleman on his stock. So you've got a waistcoat, you've got a shirt. I'm going to show you the two other waistcoats I have that I had gotten at thrift stores. One of them, ooh, I love this one. It's deep blue, sort of like what, so he could wear this when the lady wears the Spencer. A deep blue damask fabric. So what I love about it is it's really, really dressy. And the dressiness is coming from the pattern in the front and the deep sort of evening type color, this midnight blue. Same thing, it has a plain back, and this is from Norton McNaughton Petites. So it's a woman's vest, but it's definitely, it could so cover for a gentleman of this period, the Regency period. So that's another one. And I love it, like I said, with this, he could wear this when he goes out with the lady that's wearing that because they match, right? Okay, the last one is interesting because it's striped. This is Liz Claiborne collection. And again, these are women's because, you know, we wear them now too. But I like the stripes. They're kind of dull colors. They're not, you know, a lot of that was going on during this time for men. A lot of the colors they wore were kind of drab compared to what was happening in the 18th century and earlier. They were in much plainer garments in terms of opulence. You know, their opulence came from style and good tailoring. So I like this vest because that really fits. Now this one has a back to it and it's the same pattern, but you know, we're in a different time too. Women would walk around with a t-shirt and this over it and that's their outfit. So we don't have the same rules, but it's often done anyway in the vests of today. So those are those for men. Now, what do I have for trousers? I do have a pair that I thrifted maybe 6 months ago from our thrift store. It's leggings, but they're like a fake suede. So they could almost be like a buckskin. I put them away for the winter. I didn't know where I put them. So that's what I wear as a Regency gentleman when I do an event in the winter. But they're that same color. So that would look great with this vest or even this vest and a jacket over it. But in terms of the trousers I brought with me, I just got these last Thursday at our thrift store. They're just stretchy leggings, but they've got a stripe. And some of the images that I see from this period on gentlemen have a stripe down the side. So I just thought this would be great to wear with any vest really, because it's kind of neutral. It's gold, white, and black. And this could be the bottom part. And then you would wear a boot over it, most likely, sometimes a shoe for day wear or evening wear. But I thought this, I paid $4, $3 for this, I think, at the most. And they're tight fitting, but you want them to be tight fitting on the man's styling for this period. So there's that. And then the other pair I have is another damask. It's black. They're black. I got these probably around 2006 in Boston. I had a friend that I taught with there, and he was an adjunct professor, but he also ran a store on Newbury Street in Boston. So he had me come in one night, and there were some things on sale, and this was one of them. And, you know, he said to me, I said, just don't let me spend too much on all of this. He goes, you'll buy what I tell you to buy. And I pretty much did. I got more wear out of these pants. Can't even tell you. These are slim and they're damask and they have the stripe. It's black on black. They have the stripe on the side. And how cool would that be with the tailcoat and also the shirt, the stock, the waistcoat? So those are my two pieces that would work for men. Boots, these are modern. I got them maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. They're still terrific. They're leather. They are, I think they're Franco Sarto, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, Franco Sarto. And you can thrift these. You can thrift boots like this now. These I bought new, but I got to tell you, cost per wear, I've gotten more wear out of these. And now I use them when I become a Regency gentleman. So priceless to me. But these would fit. Top boots were usually the riding boot, one of the riding boots of the period. And they often had the lighter part folded over. But it resembles what this would look like. So you could wear this with your Regency. Any of the pants that I'm showing you or talking about would go perfect. As far as a shoe, I thrifted these, I think, oh, they're a little dusty, sorry about that. I think that these came from Savers. These are Tahari, which is a very good brand, and they are a shiny, sort of burgundy color, cordovan maybe we would call that, but it's like a patent leather, and it has tassels. Now that's, we think, a lot of more modern loafers that have that. But because they're shiny, I've seen images of men with shoes sort of like this. And I thought the tassel was cool because there's another boot. I don't have one like it, but it's a kind of a scallop top, like a cut on the top. It kind of goes down and then comes back up again. But it's called Hessian boot, and it has a tassel in the front. And so I kind of kept that theme with these shoes, and these are flat. So you could definitely wear these with the pants I've been showing you too. Lastly, for the men, I have some jackets I pulled that are recent thrifts for me, fairly recent anyway. This, I think, was a Savers find, and I thought military, because there are a lot of men, think about Napoleon and all of that, that were in the military. And I love this. This is a Valerie Stevens pure wool. Got it for, I don't know, maybe $6, $8, but it's all wool. It's in beautiful condition. And it's got military style buttons, and just look at that cut. So this could be with those buff trousers we talked about, what they would have worn, or even the black damask. And that could be the military style outfit for the Regency gentleman. Now, if you want to mix this with modern, same thing. You wear maybe kind of a funky skirt or a pair of pants with pattern. And you could do the band tee again. You can do a blouse like I showed you with that asymmetrical neckline. Anything you would choose that's more modern for you, you could put with this jacket and add it to a bottom that was also more modern that maybe you found at a thrift store. I find the best skirts and bottoms and everything because it's now almost one of a kind. You know, it's things are becoming very hard to find, the vintage, but thrift stores still carry. You're going to see a lot more 80s and 90s, which I'm fine with. But luckily, I've been collecting for a long time, so I do have, 40s, 30s, and earlier too, and 50s, of course. But I thought this would be, military style is always in style. It's sort of classic. And so I thought this would be fun in your modern wardrobe with anything you own, pretty much, as well as the Regency gentleman look. This next one was a three-piece suit I found in a Salvation Army in New Hampshire on one of my traveling to do presentation. This is again that fake suede, and it came with trousers, which I donated because they didn't fit. I just didn't really like the trousers. But this has a waistcoat that goes with it. So you've already got your vest, you've already got your jacket, and all you need is a shirt and pants. This can be worn just the vest with jeans and a tee, or a blouse, or a skirt with it, or you can do both at once, or you could do the jacket separately. Sometimes, to me, a look that I really love that's timeless is a jacket over jeans with a t-shirt. It's timeless. It's popular now too, but it's also something that makes an outfit you. It makes it more individual and authentic. If you like to have sort of a modern and vintage look simultaneously, but you want to be comfortable and you want it to reflect who you are. So if you have a favorite band and you have a t-shirt, whether it's vintage or not, under this with a pair of jeans would be really cool. So you can modernize anything I'm showing you by what's already there. I call it shopping your closet. Whatever's in your closet, you might find new uses for that you thought, should I donate this? I haven't been wearing it. But what if you could? What if you said, geez, I never thought of doing that? So this would be a really good idea. And it's this really timeless. It's not a tailcoat, obviously. It's a regular sport jacket, but it's just a little different at the same time. But you'd never really be able to tell if it's old or not by just looking at the style, because this comes back and back over and over again. You could also do the blouse and the stock under here with jeans instead of using, the buckskin looking leggings or trousers. You could even wear it and dress it down, but having the stock would be an interesting touch. You could put brooches. These lapels are really wide. Brooches are one of my favorite things. I have quite a collection of them, and that would really modernize and, bling up and make this outfit much more interesting than it is by itself. This next one, I remember wearing these in the 80s. This is an Anne Klein 2 that I got, I'm pretty sure, at our thrift store in Chester. And it's wool. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful shape. It's got a dark brown suede collar. These riding type jackets were very popular in the 80s and early 90s. And it's just in great condition. The buttons are, trying to decide, they look like leather, but I think they're plastic. It's hard for me to tell, but they're really beautiful. And I love how the back almost resembles a tailcoat. If you look at this pleating in the back, it's almost like a tailcoat, even though the front is not cut across. And it's also got this seaming, so it really kind of fits to the body. That's what I love about some of these vintage pieces, is they fit the body so much better. And of course, the quality is always going to be better than what you can get nowadays in any way, shape, or form. Unless you're buying couture, you're not going to get the quality from vintage. Even the 80s and 90s were still really, really good, well made compared to the fast fashion of today. And then the last piece is the piece I wear when I'm a Regency gentleman. This is the final piece over the top of the blouse, of the leggings that I wear, the waistcoat, and the stock. I found this in an antique store. I mean, I can't even tell you how many years ago. It's got to be 12, 14, at least 15 years ago that I found this. And it's a Tahari, but it really looks old. It really looks old. It's double-breasted, and it could pass for a tailcoat, except that it doesn't have the front that's straight across. But it's suede. It's really beautiful suede. and it could use a good brushing now that I'm looking at it. Beautiful lining, and it fits me perfectly. It's right fitted to the waist, which you would see on the gentleman. And it could really be like a riding jacket, which they wore often, of course. They were riding horses. So this piece I wear over all of the items I already told you when I'm a Regency gentleman, and I wear the boots and all of that. And finally, I didn't bring it, but I have a top hat. I have two. I have an antique one, and I have a vintage one, and they're both beaver, made from beaver. And I've worn them as the gentleman. I always wear one of those hats as the gentleman, and because that was day wear. As we get later into the century, and now we're approaching the 20th century, it's going to be more evening wear. The younger men are going to be wearing derbies at the end of this century and into the 20th century. Derbies instead of top hats, but some of the older gentlemen will stick with their top hats for day wear as well, because they don't want to change. You know, it's human nature that when you've been wearing something for a long time and you feel comfortable in it, oh, this newfangled style, I'm really not going to wear. I'm not going to even look at it, never mind wear it. My father was very conservative, and when the 70s came around, 1970s, the leisure suit came upon us, and he hated it. He said to my mother, "Don't ever, ever buy me one of those. I'll never wear it." I'm sure many of the men probably felt that way at the time. But this is really luxe. Same thing. How would you modernize this? Well, you could do, again, the t-shirt. You could do a very casual top with this because it closes quite high up. So even if it was almost a cropped top, you could get away with it under this. And it's double-breasted, as I said, nice tight fitting, has a pocket here. You could do the brooch thing again on the lapels. You could do the stock with whatever blouse you have. Something really patterned would be fun because this is black. Something really colorful even. And then, you know, there's just an endless amount of possibilities that you could do with this and any of the things that I showed you here. Modern and vintage go together. I talk about sustainability and how we are ruining the planet. Fashion damages our earth so much because there's so much water used to make a new garment, and other things, not just water, but other, you know, elements that are used to produce fashion that is going to deal with maybe 2 washings and then it's done. And I can tell you that from experience because I have a very good friend who bought I'm not going to name the brand, but bought a t-shirt from an online fast fashion place because he loved it. He washed it once, done. He couldn't wear it again. So keep that in mind, that we're being kinder to the planet. We're trying to avoid things going into landfills, and keeping the cycle of fashion going. Make it circular so that somebody, if you've worn this red coat that I just showed you and you finally said, I'm not going to wear this anymore. I've had a great time in it. I want somebody else to be able to enjoy it. So you either sell it or you donate it, and that person can have fun with their closet with a new piece new to them. And you're saving money. You're saving, all of the useless things we're using to be able to produce something new when we already have way too much. There's a podcast I listen to, one of the many, and she runs ARC thrift stores. She's I think the marketing person for them. They're in Colorado area, and they're opening in other areas out there. We don't have any here, but it's sort of like a Savers or a Goodwill. She says, you wouldn't believe what comes in for donations. There's plenty of stuff. We can't keep it all. So sometimes they have to send them to another store. We have the same problem at our thrift store. It's small. So sometimes we can't keep everything that comes in, especially if it's not selling. So, there's ways you can bring things to a donation center, and even if they don't keep it and put it on the floor, they know where to bring it for recycling. A lot of people are upcycling now, which means they are making something that exists into something else. I have mixed feelings about it because I'm a purist in terms of vintage, but what if a dress will never be worn by anybody, but this person came and said, I would wear this if I did this to it, maybe cut this or whatever. I have to, the way we're going in the world, we have to be open to that kind of thing because they'll still be worn instead of being thrown into the landfill. So with that, I will leave you, my friends, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it inspired you to look in your closets. Next time you go thrifting, maybe you'll think of the Regency lady or gentleman and look for things you can wear and be that character, or mix it with your own clothing and find your own funky style. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.